Welcome to Alma Tales Lab, where lying wives and sneaky girlfriends finally get exposed. From girls' trips that never happened to coworkers who were a little too friendly, we break down every red flag, messy receipt, and suspicious text with humor, shock, and just a little bit of petty. Expect wild stories, dramatic reactions, and satisfying karma as the truth comes crashing through the door. If you love relationship tea, plot twists, and seeing players get played, this channel is your new home every single chaotic, jaw-dropping, binge-worthy episode. Hit subscribe and never miss a fresh dose of exposed cheating. Don't forget to check our previous stories. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my wife ever did was turn our divorce hearing into a roast. Smiling while she listed my failures like punchlines, letting her people laugh, then winking at me like my humiliation was the last gift she deserved. Here's how it happened. My name is Terrence Waller. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland, and I used to believe love could be repaired with patience, consistency, and quiet effort. I wasn't loud. I wasn't flashy. I was steady. And for a while, Sabrina loved that about me, until she decided steady meant easy to disrespect. I met Sabrina Pierce at a friend's birthday dinner in National Harbor. She walked in wearing a bright blazer and a grin, like she already knew the room belonged to her. I was the guy who showed up on time, held the door, and made sure the birthday girl's little nephew got a slice of cake first. Sabrina noticed that, leaned over, and said, "You're somebody's husband, aren't you?" I laughed so hard I almost snorted water, and she laughed too. Warm, real, the kind that makes you relax your shoulders without noticing. Our early months felt like a highlight reel. Sunday mornings in Bowie, she'd steal my hoodie, fry eggs, and dance around the kitchen with a spatula like a microphone. I'd pretend to be her security guard while she performed tiny desk concerts for the toaster. Once, we tried to assemble a bookshelf from a box store and argued for 20 minutes because she insisted the wooden dowels were optional. When it collapsed the second we stood it up, she stared at it, dead serious, and said, "Your man skills are on probation." I laughed until my stomach hurt. Sabrina was ambitious and magnetic. She ran a small event planning business and talked about her goals like they were already scheduled on a calendar. I admire that. I work in IT, structured, logical, patient. We fit. She brought color. I brought calm. When we hosted friends, she'd introduce me like I was the best part of her life. "This is my Terrence," she'd say, squeezing my hand. And I believed her. That kind of pride does something to a man, makes him want to keep earning it. The shift didn't happen overnight. It came in tiny cuts. The first time Sabrina embarrassed me publicly, it was at brunch in D.C. with her friends. Someone asked how we split bills, and before I could answer, she laughed and said, "Terrence is traditional. He likes to feel useful." Then she patted my forearm like I was a well-trained dog. Everyone chuckled. I smiled because I didn't want to make a scene, but the back of my neck burned all the way through my shirt. In the car afterward, I said calmly, "Don't talk about me like that." Sabrina didn't apologize. She sighed like I'd asked her to do homework. "You're sensitive," she said. "It's just jokes. You always take everything personally." Then she added the line that would become her favorite weapon. "If you were more confident, you'd laugh too." That's how she did it. Turn my reaction into the problem. Like respect was something I had to earn by tolerating disrespect. Her family reinforced it. At a cookout in Fort Washington, her cousin Kareem grinned at me and said, "Terrence, you got permission to be here today?" People laughed. Sabrina laughed hardest. Well, I didn't laugh. She leaned in and whispered, smiling, "Relax, babe. You look uptight." Later, her mother, Dr. Yvonne Pierce, asked Sabrina in front of me, "Is he always this quiet?" Sabrina shrugged and said, "He's low maintenance. It's why he works." I felt myself shrink and hated that I let it happen. I try to fix it the way I fix everything, quietly, consistently. I plan dates. I surprised her with flowers delivered to her office. I learned her favorite candle scent. I booked a weekend in Baltimore, and we laughed so much in the inner harbor that my cheeks hurt. That night, she rested her head on my shoulder and said, "You're my safe place." I held on to that sentence like a life raft. I told myself the disrespect was stress, not character. I kept choosing hope over evidence. Then the secrecy started. Sabrina began guarding her phone like it held state secrets. She'd tilt her screen away. She'd take calls in the bathroom with the faucet running. She started saying work trip more often, especially Atlanta. At first I believed her because I wanted to, but then she'd return with no stories about the work itself. Just pictures of steak dinners, skyline views, and outfits she didn't wear for meetings. When I asked questions, she'd smile and say, "Don't be weird." The first time I saw a name that didn't belong, it was on a notification that popped up while she was in the shower. A message. Last night was crazy. From someone saved as consulting. My stomach dropped so fast I had to sit down. When Sabrina came out, I asked her about it, calm, direct. She didn't even blink. "It's a client," she said. "You don't understand my industry." I said, "That message doesn't sound like work." She sighed and replied, "Terrence, please don't start acting insecure." She made it worse on purpose. Little posts online with captions like, "When you're the prize, don't date men who want to be carried." Her friends would comment laughing emojis. Sabrina would like them. Once, while scrolling beside me, she said, "Look, they're hilarious." I stared at the screen, then at her, and realized she wasn't clueless. She was deliberate. She wanted me to see it and feel small. When I looked away, she smirked like she'd scored point. The night she turned our home into a stage was the night I stopped recognizing my marriage. She hosted game night in our Bowie house right after I confronted her again about the phone. I thought we were going to talk. Instead, I walked into our living room full of her people. Kareem, two friends from her business circle, and her brother, Malik. Sabrina was bright and bubbly, pouring drinks, acting like nothing was wrong. Then she told a funny story about men who confuse loyalty with entitlement. She looked straight at me when she said it. Everyone laughed. I sat on my own couch like a guest in my own life. Kareem said, "Terrence, you need to lighten up, man. Sabrina out here leveling up." Sabrina giggled and replied, "He'll be fine. He's used to me." That's the part that hurt. How confidently she said it. Like my love was a leash. Later, when the guests left, Sabrina leaned close and whispered, "You're not leaving. You don't have the stomach." I didn't raise my voice. I just stared at her until she looked away first. I started keeping notes. Not revenge notes. Reality notes. Dates. Comments. Posts. Trips. I saved screenshots when I could. I learned what gaslighting looks like when it wears your spouse's face. I also started sleeping lightly because my body knew what my mind kept delaying. This marriage was not safe for my dignity. Still, I tried one last time. I suggested counseling. Sabrina laughed and said, "I'm not paying a stranger to tell you to get confidence." The final straw was a public humiliation so clean and sharp it felt surgical. We attended a charity networking event in D.C. Sabrina introduced herself first. Long, glowing speech about her business, her brand, her standards. Then she introduced me and said, "This is Terrence. He's stable. A little boring, but stable." She laughed and waited for them to laugh too. People gave polite chuckles. I felt heat flood my face. When I said nothing, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "See? Good boy." That night I sat in my car in the driveway and didn't go inside for 20 minutes. I stared at my steering wheel and realized something simple. Love without respect is just a slow humiliation. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to exit quietly. I filed for divorce the next week in Upper Marlboro. When Sabrina received the papers, she acted offended, like I betrayed her by refusing to remain her punchline. She called her mother first, then called me, laughing. "You'll regret this," she said. Divorce didn't humble her. It energized her. Sabrina treated the process like a competition. She told mutual friends I was controlling. She claimed I couldn't handle her success. She implied I was jealous. She even hinted I was unstable because I go quiet when I'm angry. I kept my responses short and factual. My attorney, Nia Holloway, told me, "Let her talk. Courts don't run on vibes. They run on records." I held on to that. Records. Facts. Paper. While Sabrina performed publicly, she got sloppy privately. She was moving money. I noticed because our joint account patterns changed. Small transfers, then bigger ones. When I asked, she snapped, "Stop monitoring me." That told me everything. Nia helped me request disclosures. Sabrina submitted paperwork claiming there were no outside accounts. None. Clean. Simple. A lie typed with confidence. Nia raised an eyebrow and said, "Okay." The way she said "okay" sounded like a door locking. The document that saved me came from a place Sabrina never considered: her own arrogance. She used a notary in Fulton County, Georgia, for something she thought was invisible. We found it because of a property-related record tied to her consulting. The signature matched hers. The stamp was real. The dates lined up with her Atlanta trips. More importantly, the trail connected to funds she failed to disclose: marital funds. Nia slid the folder toward me and said, "This is what she prayed you wouldn't have." I didn't smile. I just exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for a year. The day of the hearing, Sabrina arrived dressed like she was on a magazine cover. She didn't look at me like a person. She looked at me like a defeated opponent she wanted to step over. Her friend sat behind her. Kareem was there, of course, wearing that smug grin. Sabrina whispered to him, and they laughed. I sat quietly beside Nia, hands folded, heartbeat steady. I didn't come to win a scene. I came to end an era. The judge opened the proceedings. Sabrina's attorney spoke first, painting her as the hero of her own story and me as the insecure villain. Then Sabrina asked to speak. The judge allowed it. Sabrina stood, smoothed her suit, and turned the courtroom into her personal stage. She joked about my job like it was small. She mocked my personality like it was a defect. She said I weaponized silence. She called my love clingy. Then she laughed. Actually laughed like my marriage was a comedy special and she was headlining. Kareem laughed loud behind her. Sabrina's mother sat there with that calm, superior stare, like watching me be humiliated was dessert. Sabrina glanced at me and gave a tiny wink like, "What are you going to do about it?" I looked down for a second, not because I was defeated, but because I was choosing my move carefully. Nia leaned toward me and whispered, "Ready?" I nodded once. My voice didn't shake when I stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit one document into evidence." Sabrina scoffed. "Let him," she muttered, loud enough for the room. "He wants attention." Nia handed the clerk the folder. The judge flipped a page, then another. The temperature changed. Sabrina's attorney leaned forward, reading faster. His face tightened. He looked at Sabrina like he'd just discovered a crack in the floor under their feet. Sabrina's smile faltered. "What is that?" she whispered. The judge looked up and asked, "Ms. Waller, did you sign this notarized agreement in Fulton County?" Sabrina's throat moved like she swallowed stone. "I don't," she started. The judge didn't let her perform. The judge read from the document, then referenced the disclosure forms Sabrina filed under oath. "You stated there were no additional accounts," the judge said. "Yet this reflects asset movement and an undisclosed financial interest." Sabrina tried to laugh it off. "It was mine," she snapped. The judge raised a hand. "Stop. One word. No drama. Just authority." The judge ordered a forensic accounting review on the spot. Temporary orders changed immediately. Sabrina's access to disputed funds was restricted. Potential sanctions were discussed, not as a threat, but as a likely consequence. Sabrina's friends stopped smirking. Kareem's grin vanished like it was wiped off. Her mother's jaw tightened. Sabrina's attorney whispered urgently, and Sabrina's eyes darted around the room, searching for control. But control doesn't live in a courtroom when paperwork is louder than charisma. Sabrina turned and stared at me like I betrayed her. Not like I protected myself, like I committed a personal crime against her ego. Still no remorse. Just rage. Outside the courtroom, she hissed, "You really did all this?" I kept my tone flat. "You roasted me because you thought the truth wasn't invited," I said. She scoffed, eyes sharp. "You're pathetic." I nodded once, not agreeing, just accepting that she'd never give me the humanity I kept hoping for. Karma didn't show up as a speech or a viral moment. It showed up as consequences stacked neatly in a file. Over the next months, Sabrina had to answer questions she couldn't charm away. Her finances were examined. Her statements were compared. Her timeline was challenged. Every time she'd laughed at me for being boring, the court rewarded my boring habits: saving receipts, staying consistent, documenting facts. My pain became evidence. Her arrogance became her own witness. Quiet work beat loud cruelty. Meanwhile, I rebuilt privately. I moved into a smaller place in Laurel and kept it simple. Clean couch, steady routines, peace. I went to work, came home, cooked real meals, slept without tension in my shoulders. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped explaining the truth to people who liked her performance better than my reality. I started investing more, saving more, and protecting my time like it was sacred. My glow-up wasn't public. It was internal. It was the sound of my dignity returning. The funny part, quietly funny, was how the same people who laughed at me went silent when the story changed. Kareem stopped posting jokes. Some mutuals avoided my eyes at gatherings. Sabrina still told anyone who'd listened that I ruined her life, but the courts didn't care about her storyline anymore. They cared about disclosures, signatures, and accounts. Every humiliation she served me got answered with a consequence that fitted. Public disrespect met public correction. Lies met legal scrutiny. Arrogance met limits she couldn't sweet-talk. Sabrina never apologized. She never softened. She never admitted anything. Even at the end, she acted like she was the victim of my preparedness. But I didn't need her remorse to heal. I needed my life back. The last time I saw her in court, she looked tired, still prideful, still sharp, but smaller in the only place she used to feel big, a room full of witnesses. I walked out calm, alone, and free. Karma didn't yell. Karma filed. And this time it filed on my side. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.